I hope you have your tinfoil hat all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mickey.
Hey all, this is Shiny Side Out, and I'm Dave
I'm the Mackie.
on WCCR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com, where you'll find it's home to fresh, unfiltered ideas and conversations in the chat room, also all the hosts and guests, hopefully. And freedomslips.com is a great place to get your merch. You know what? You can join us inside the chat room while we're on air. You can listen anywhere on a Grace tabletop. Sorry, you can listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio, or at home, either online or anywhere on a smart device. Just grab an app and listen. If you missed the prior show to this one, you missed Solaris's awesome show. She had tonight Barbara Jean Lindsay, the Cosmic Oracle, and the topic was spirituality. Now, you know what? If you don't know who Solaris is, or maybe you're on YouTube listening to this sometime in the future, or live, it doesn't matter. You can jump into the chat room and talk to us while we're on air, and you can go to the archives and you can download any of the shows that the hosts do. They go back a couple of years, not much more than that. There was a lot lost in the great cleansing that took place. Great cleansing of information. But you know what? If you're an avid listener of Shiny Side Out with Dave and Mickey, I'm going to ask, go back through your downloaded archives. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you've got some of our early work, anywhere between, say, show 1 and show 100. Any of those early ones in the first 100, message us, either, come into the chat room, message us and tell us that you've got one of those, or go to our website, shinysideout.net, and make contact with us through the contact page and let us know which ones you've got. That'll begin an email between the two of us, and we can, work out whether we have that missing show or not. We're trying to put the ultimate collection of Shiny Side Out shows together, and we'd really like to be able to recover some of those shows. And because of a paywall, you couldn't get to it via the time machine, Wayback Machine. You just can't get there. All right. So anyway, this is the what's it called? Welcome to Country, and I'm broadcasting out of Darkinjung country. And Mackie, where are you?
I'm in the Daruk country.
Daruk country, beautiful. And we have the moral obligation and a personal want to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. And we thank them very much for allowing us to use their land. Mackie, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it on?
What?
Hello.
Who?
What? Hello.
Okay, you're me and I'm you.
Who's on first?
Oh,
Let's not go there.
Look, that's a great example of what this week has been like.
Oh. Yeah. Ha. This. Yeah. We last week it was crazy. I thought it was crazy. A crazy week. Honestly, I thought it was okay. On the crazy meter, we're on a 9 now. It's a 9. That's good.
Yes.
But no. We are we're sailing right into the crazy. Keep on crazying her. If that's let's get crazier. What we've seen, honestly, I don't even know anymore.
Okay. I'll finish the sentence.
My universe?
I don't know anymore.
Are you Dave? You're
Hello.
Dave, right?
So
Okay.
there are new limits reached, new heights reached of crazy, probably every week this entire year. I don't understand how we've had, let's liken it to weather. The once in a lifetime crazy, right? Or the once in 1,000 year crazy.
Mm.
We're having those now. Every single week, it's wow, that's a new level. They're pushing the bar. I think the bar is going so high that well, it's just me, but I'd say they're probably going to be unattainable. But no, that proof, that's gone. I'm going to do another one. Rah, rah. It's Scooby-Doo. I don't understand, Mickey. I don't understand how they're reaching into the empty barrel of crazy and plucking out more.
It is. Okay. The key thing to understand, and we discussed this before, right? We're living in a time of extreme uncertainty. Forget fear. Everybody's afraid of everything. And that's cool, right? That's what they like. That's what they're doing.
You're freaking me out, Mickey.
Well,
see?
Yeah, I know, right? But the truth is, there just isn't anywhere to hide from this uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. It's a thing, right? And because the thing, you turn to things that are certain. You turn to things that make you feel comfortable and safe. Things that you feel have value or can explain what is going on, and that, to some extent, is at the bottom of the craziness we're observing. People simply looking for something to hold on to. Right? It's not always a good thing. No, it's not. But it is understandable, I want to say, in the same way that the rise of fascism and National Socialism and so forth during the 1920s and 30s was understandable. It's not something we like or want to do again, but we understand why it happened. We are exactly there again. Okay.
I would have thought the warning bells had already rung.
Oh no, but see, warning bells are only good if people hate warnings. Why are you ringing the bell for? Everything is fine.
I don't know. I kind of forgot.
I mean, what are you doing, Dave? Seriously, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, what up? What up?
What up?
What up?
My pig.
So yeah, no, look, they are ringing. But if the majority of the people feel this uncertainty and fear, then this warning is going to go completely unheeded because we are not interested. I don't care about your warning. You can stick your warning, where the sun doesn't shine, because I need certainty in my life. I need something I can hold on to, and you're not giving it to me, and the parasites are not giving it to me. I'll find my own certainty. Thank you very much. And that's where the crazy comes in, right?
So I'm seeing people looking inward towards and concentrating on the things that aren't crazy. And I repeat this again, and I suppose it's my little phrase, and that's work, home, and shops.
Yeah.
Those things don't change, and therefore people can rest on that stability for themselves, for their own sanity. But it's an ever shrinking dome of sanity. And because, Mickey, I remember being able to have conversations with people. Remember that? When people would, converse back and they, there might be a wide topic, ranging topics or something like that. But now, look, it's just personally what I did at the weekend at home, and I did nothing else. And I go, did you go to the shops? Yeah, I went to the shops. You didn't mention it when I said, what you do on the weekend? Oh, but I didn't need to, because that's just a given. So you were at home. Yeah, but then you told me about something you did when you were at home. Yeah, because that was the interesting part. Did you watch the news? No, I don't watch the news anymore. And it's almost, I'm going to start rocking in a fetal position. Uh-oh. Right? And this is what I think is becoming disturbing. This crazy planet, all the news we see is just off the charts nuts. We're watching geopolitics failing at a level that it's never failed before. I saw that Egypt joined BRICS. So India had joined BRICS, and if you don't know, it's they're like a new sovereign world currency rather than the petrodollar. It's the Chinese system that they've created for trade. And you know what? If you want to trade with them, you're gonna have to be forced to use that. That's good, right? Good for them. But I'm seeing the other half in the West looking to develop their own system, and what we're seeing right now is a division of who's using what system. It's like the red and the blue.
Yeah.
And if they're going to start fighting over coloured hats, Mickey, that's got to be a problem. Do you know what I mean?
I hear you. These choices are illusory choices. They're illusions. They're not real choices. They're just choices that have been put in front. It's like this, right? You can have toast, or you can have whole grain bread. Like you can have white bread or whole grain bread. Oh, all these choices. It's not a choice. Your choice is already predetermined. It's one or the other.
What about the wholemeal bread that I was going to have? Oh, you don't get that. That's not there.
No. I just gave you that choice. But the point is.
No, but you said whole grain. But I didn't want whole grain.
Right.
I want a whole meal.
Whole meal.
No, you can't have whole meal.
And that's the thing, right? So you've been given two choices, right? And you're thinking, oh wow, look at that. In fact, in many places these days, here's your white bread. Enjoy. Oh wow, fantastic! You're having white bread. If you predetermine the choices, there's no surprise for the ruling class. Okay. If you predetermine the choices, if you have it all worked out, you know what's going to happen. All of a sudden, you don't have to worry about anything else anymore because it's done. You have done the things that you needed to do in order to keep the people in line, and that's the trick. Because there's no choice. You choose between Republican and Democrat. Let's say, for argument's sake, just for a second. That's not a choice. You're given two things that you might not like either of, and say, here, no, none of these speak to me.
The voters are worried about you guys holding hands. Well, if you can find another way to exchange long strand proteins.
Oh, I'd like to hear it. Look, and Dave's right. And this is really the point that the Simpsons were trying to make when when they had that skit.
Yes.
There's no choice.
It doesn't really matter who you vote for, yeah.
Yeah, but even if there were 5 people, still no choice.
Yeah.
Because it's predetermined. Noam Chomsky, a great linguist, a thinker, you probably know him, said a wonderful thing. He said you can have any conversation you want about anything, any topic at all, doesn't really matter as long as it stays within the confines of this box. That's all. Inside that box, you can go nuts. Have at it. Go to town. But stay in the box. And that's where we are, in the box.
Yeah, so we've recently seen some relaxation, or let's call it what's included in the box, because what was excluded from the box during the pandemic was conversation about the pandemic in any negative aspect that countered the current narrative. And who decided the narrative? The WHO and your local governance. And that was then, wait, what?
What?
I'm not allowed to talk about things anymore? No. Right? Well, self-censorship comes to mind, but those who didn't bore the brunt of the law, I suspect. Deplatformed, that's a modern way of, serving a crime.
Yeah.
Getting Facebook jail as you know it. If you haven't served that, if you haven't been an inmate in Facebook jail, you haven't been topical enough, let's put it that way.
That's funny.
So the crime by social media, Mickey, is we're getting closer and closer to that. Caught by social.
We are, and that is a worry, because there's one thing you can count on. It's mob justice.
Yeah, that's been terribly successful.
Crime is down 50%, but sack beatings up 2,000%. What? Yes, I can't argue. I'm not going to say.
What's your point? What's your point, Ken?
What's your point, Ken? Well, are my people violent and overstep the bounds? Yes. Well, touche.
Touche. That's right.
That's where we are, though. Right?
Heavy sack beatings. That's right.
That's it. It's heavy sack. That's right. Doorknobs.
Yes.
But we look at everything that presents itself to us, right? And let me say, I said this before, but let me say this to you. More people have been to Berlin than me. That makes no sense in that sentence. None. Okay? It actually conveys no meaning. It sounds like it does, but it doesn't. And we're getting a lot more of that, where people talk. Now listen to this interview of this billionaire person, and this person was making an argument for their own wealth. How technology is going to save us, etc. But he didn't ignore the counter arguments from the interviewer, but rather agreed, and then made his point again. And that's what we're seeing more and more of. Either what is being said has no informational value, or it is not being addressed at all. So the question will be asked, and then you go, yeah, well, that's a very good question, and then I'll make my first point again. What?
That's right.
Okay. And even if it's a very clever interviewer or a very clever person you speak with, eventually you will beat them down with that strategy. It's phenomenal.
I've got an example of that, actually.
Go.
So this is the JPK, which is the person at the White House, the representative, and being asked by one of the reporters, who I think is the only true African American. He's from Africa. And he's pressing upon her to speak about the difference between the former president and the current president, being asked the same question, and the current Speaker of the House has such a hard line difference in the answers, and he presses and presses and presses, trying to get an answer, and she refuses to talk to him, then eventually walks out of that press conference.
Yeah.
And rather than answer the question, it was a simple question, they needed a simple answer. And it's, if you're watching this on YouTube, I've left the screen up so you know what to search for, but I'm going to put the link to it in the chat room so you can entertain yourselves with that, because this is one of those distinguishing moments where the simple honesty could have answered the question just fine, but rather than that, silence and never backing down. I think she thinks she won, but actually what she made herself look like was an idiot. It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
If you look back 30 years, someone would have answered that just perfectly.
Yeah.
In the same role. And right now, I think because the 15 seconds is over, your TikTok's finished, right? You've got no interest. I'm going to move on. And why is the person still talking?
That's true. We in fact, it's going to get worse. The
Yeah.
attention span and of our children, it's going to get worse and worse. Do you know what both Newton and Einstein have in common?
Uh-oh.
Well, they were very smart, Mackie. Yeah, that's right. No, their ability, and not just them, but I'm picking them because they made a point of it. They had the ability to focus on one thing. They had the ability to lock themselves away, which both Newton and Einstein did, respectively, and thought about the problem at hand. Whatever problem they were trying to solve, doesn't really matter. But the point is still,
Mhm.
and for a year or even 2 years, they locked themselves away and they focused their efforts on thinking out this issue that they had. Whatever. Today, the generation that's coming through. No, I'm not saying that quality doesn't exist anymore. Of course it does. I mean, there's still people that do this. But I think as a racial quality or species, or quality for a species, I think that's sort of going away. A few, yes, still do that, but the vast majority of us, I don't think, will be able to hold a thought for longer than a TikTok
Yeah.
video.
Mhm.
Simply because that's how we've been conditioned. Maybe not us, but the younger kids. And it's really disturbing, because if you can't focus on anything, then people can tell you whatever they like,
Mm.
because you won't remember it. Yeah, or you can't mount a counter-offensive because you can't sit down long enough to plan one.
Oh, there. See,
Okay.
that's the point, I think.
Yeah.
I had something here. This was Speaker Pelosi, and
Oh yes.
talking about the bill that's planning on banning lawmakers from trading stocks.
Really?
Yeah. So,
That's not a bad idea. Okay, go on.
well, they shouldn't hold any collateral over the things that they're deciding upon,
I agree. 100%.
right? Because that's the same as insider trading. They would know.
Yeah.
They'd be able to buy stock in advance of a decision that they were going to come to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Pelosi, with her slow blinking left eye, like they blink out of time like an owl, which usually means that they're in a duality. Or she's had a stroke. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Oh, I'm not a doctor.
See through time.
So you saw that coming. But she said, I'll approve whatever the committee approves. But I think maybe she has more power over the committee than she's willing to attest to, and it's quite possible that she'll already derive the answer in advance, or ask the committee to choose in a particular way. That way, no individual made the decision certain. And there you go.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I think that's going to roll, because she's already announced that she's not going to continue, so she won't be affected by it by the time it goes into play. So kind of just concerning. That's once again the ultra wealthy people that rule over us are making rules for themselves. Does it make sense?
Yeah, of course it does.
Not a dust to them, but it annoys me greatly that we don't have the ability to this representative government. I think is a complete farce, and I think democracy has lost all of its edge. My goal, if it was ever possible, would be to agree with what Elon Musk has presented as an option, that we could have immediate representative government through a question to everybody, and we all answer it, and it just gets done. You could wipe out all the bureaucracy out of the government.
Well, yeah. Good.
We've got, you and I have spoken about this. We could have, equivalent of referendums, right?
Yeah. I mean, the tech exists. I mean, quite easily.
100%.
It's very possible to. I mean, is it foolproof, or can it be?
Everything can be manipulated.
Yeah. So it is definitely not.
If it's not representative government anyway, if the person just has a briefcase full of money presented to them to make a decision from some interest, then it's not representative anyway, right?
That's true. Moneyfied.
Moneyfied. That's right. So, look, coming off the back of that, I thought of a really good thing that I saw this week. I shouldn't say really good thing. I'm going to back that out. I just, stricken from the record. I saw a news story that 25 people, was it, were arrested in Germany.
Oh yeah,
One
yeah,
far right, political representative, a military dude, and I think 23 others were all suspected of being party to a future coup, a coup d'état to bring down the government.
Yes, bring it down, baby. We're bringing it. We're bringing the time. We're bringing it down. Party times.
So the left now in Germany has said the right should be banned.
Yes, because it always helps if you...
I don't know, is that an echo from the past? Is that ringing bells?
Yeah, let's disallow everything we don't like and take it from there, shall we? Yes, Mackie, that's a fantastic idea. No.
Let's do that.
It's not. But no, look, again, you're right. There have been calls for that. Now, it's of course completely impossible, and that's the worst thing you could do. I'll tell you why. Because if you ban something, right, it's not going to go away. It'll simply go underground, and that's the place you don't want it to be. You don't want it to be underground. You want to know what's going on. I mean, that's why they arrested these folks. Okay, let's be clear here. They were arrested because they were under surveillance. Now, if they had been half smart, they might have done it more surreptitiously, but they didn't. But the point is, if you force people into the underground, that's where they'll stay. You will have no idea. Or they found out with great difficulty what, in fact, is going on. And we don't need that. So you can't, I mean, okay, the NSDAP, the true right, is banned. Okay, but so is the true left. So anybody who's got anarchistic or terrorism-like designs on Germany, they're already banned, right? Including the Communist Party, believe it or not. So that's happened already. You can't go and ban all right-wing ideology because, okay, we have these loaded terms, Dave, when we say left-wing, right-wing.
I know.
You know, and the truth is this, right? It's just look up why we say left and right. You will not believe it. I won't tell you now. That's your homework. But it's really fascinating why we call it left and right. The point is, these are just political views. These are just people's views. So right wing is usually associated with very, like, let's say, conservative and very nationalistic point of view, right? So you would call America, for example, a right wing country. You're wrong, because it is, right? It's very strong national identity, and then, rah 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 and all that stuff. Whereas the left is usually more socialist or communist even, but also liberal, more liberal. Okay, so it's a bit of wishy-washy talking about right and left that way, but you can't do away with it. Is my point. You can't do away because there are conservative people. There are people that are proud to be German or Italian or whatever. You can't stop people from being that. For calls to ban it, it's just complete nonsense, Dave.
Yeah, and so the labeling of each of the people as a group were QAnon. What were the other ones? Far right, terrorist, extremist.
Oath keepers. Yeah.
All of those. So the Die Linke party, the left party, who were the Social Democrats, were trying to ban the AfD party. And there's been
for Deutschland,
yeah. So there's been a number of them. When you Google it, you find so many examples of them banning any party that pops up on the right. It's not just this one this time, and I wonder how much there was really going on here. Because remember, it's a future crime. They haven't done it yet. But yes, there'd be evidence and there'd be surveillance, and you would have heard them planning it, which is also an offence, just to plan. But wow.
It's high treason.
That's right.
If this had happened in America, they could be executed for it.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give everybody an understanding of what the seriousness of this. So the thing is this: there are a lot of people under surveillance in Germany. Germany's got 18 million people. 18 million.
That's nothing, right? It's easy.
Well, the thing is this, though. I mean, in 18 million people, you'll have thousands of different political views,
mm-hmm.
and you have to also understand. Okay, so East and West Germany were separated at the end of World War II, and they were separate for a good 40 years, even 30, 40 years. Anyway, and the West, where I grew up, was suffering from collective guilt, meaning it was our fault that the Jews had been killed and that World War II happened. It's all our fault. Mea culpa, mea culpa.
Yep.
Whereas East Germany had none of that. No. We are the good communists. It's all the West Germans that did it, which is nonsense, but nonetheless, that's the narrative. So at unification, they never went through this it's not good to be proud to be a German. They never had that. They think of course I'm proud to be a German. Why wouldn't I be? So a lot of this right wing, thought collateral comes out of the East. Now, on top of that, you have the guilt that has been riddled the West Germans, or has been riddling the West Germans, I should say, for the last 20, 60 years. And the younger generations just had a gutful, right? And on top of that, you had 1 million Syrians come to Germany just before the pandemic. 1 million. 1 million. 1 million people came from Syria into Germany in the space of a couple of months. That kind of intake of people is unheard of. And something we can look forward to now with the climate change and all that, but that's something that just unprecedented. No nation has ever taken in 1 million people in such a short time.
No, that's right.
But that causes conflict. There are already millions and millions of Turks and other nationalities, but Turks are probably the single biggest minority in Germany. And when I went back in 2010, I didn't recognize Germany, my Germany. It was a different place. It's not the Germany that I grew up in, and I'm not. Well, I am German, but my dad is Turkish, so go figure. But my Germany of my childhood is gone, and I can see how a lot of people of my age, in their 50s, would feel disconnected. This is not our Germany. This is not the Germany we remember. This is not the Germany of the economic miracle of the 50s and 60s. This is a very bleak Germany we're in now. I don't like it. I want some certainty. Excuse me, Mr. Strongman, can you just give me some certainty? Yeah, here's 5 pounds of certainty. Just vote for me. Taking these people out of the political discourse and disallowing them is not going to get rid of the sentiment. People will still believe what they believe, Dave.
So one of those things, Becky, that gets me is this polarization, but rather polar flip that we're seeing. So in places where there is a strong left vote, we've seen it switch. I know France, it wasn't it the Socialist Party, Socialist Green? Then it was kind of left, now it's kind of right. How have those parties failed so quickly? And what has led to the pole reversal where it was 100% stable? Is it I'm sure there's multiple vectors. One of those in our example in Australia was just inadequacy, right? Lies and saying one thing and doing another, which is very popular amongst politicians, but I think it's becoming more and more popular. That first year of doing everything you promised, and the second year of just doing kind of what you wanted, and then the third year going back to trying to please the people because you want to earn your votes back. I don't know. I don't know what's happened, and so is I keep going with this, Mackie, since you've mentioned it before. There must be an alternative. There must be an alternative to this sham democracy, you know.
Yeah. People know it. People feel it in their bones. There has to be something else.
Yeah.
And this goes across anything really. It's not just politics, but it's painfully obvious in that space, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
But other things too. I mean, our way of life, the way just the way we interact with each other, the way countries now function, how communities function. I mean, again, I'm in my 50s, and I'm born in the 60s, so I grew up in a village. You can say this is a small village between Cologne and Bonn, but everybody knew everybody. There were 3 or 4 bakers, and you get your bread delivered in the morning, still hot from the oven. You get your milk delivered if you wanted to. You know everybody, like I said, and even if you didn't know them, you knew them. Oh, they knew all.
Yeah.
So it was never really not too many strangers. I mean, it's 10,000 people, but it was a fairly small community, and it worked, right? And maybe that's what we should have. But the way we relate to each other. Let me give an example. In Sydney, here in Australia, there's a big long road. It's called Parramatta Road. And it turns into the Great Western Highway, right? And it stretches all the way from the mountains into the city. It's a terrible road, and they should really fix it, but whatever. The point is this: out west, just before Parramatta, lining that street, okay, were single-family homes, okay? Thousands of single-family homes along that road. It's a very long road. Now, they're almost all gone.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been replaced with high-rises, which can house, I want to say, between probably 50 and 100 families each, in the footprint of 2 or 3 former family homes. And then I went to Auburn last night to take my mum out for dinner and my brother. And it turned out that my mum paid, but my brother as well. But the point is that we went there, and Auburn is on the railway line as well. It's in the western suburbs. And there were 3, 4, maybe 6 high-rises housing hundreds of families, I'm sure. It was depressing how quickly those things had just stomped up out of nothing. They like mushrooms. And the reason I'm saying all of this is because we are shifting. We're shifting in Sydney, in Australia, in other places in the world as well. We're shifting from small communities that work well, and single-family homes, the Australian dream, to anonymous, big, industrial type housing estates. It's Soviet communism housing at its worst, in my opinion. It's depressing to see it along the railway line. So what they're doing is that they're trying to squeeze as many people near a train station as possible in order to feed the machine. The machine is, because factories and offices and people have to get there, but who cares about how they live? Just give them a box, put them near a train so they can get to work on time. Thank you very much. That's the world we're living in right now, and we're alienating each other. I guarantee you, in a high-rise apartment high-rise of 10,000 people, which are now in existence, you will know exactly nobody. In this village I described of 10,000 people I grew up in, people knew each other. Not everybody, but they would know of you. They say, "Oh, I saw your son. Really? You sure?" My mom had this happen to her. "But you don't know my son." "Oh, but he looks like you." "Oh, okay." Right?
Uh-huh.
So that's out the window. I mean, because you're living so close to each other that every bit of privacy that you can muster, you will guard like a treasure. And that's what we're seeing, Dave. That's exactly what we're seeing. Depressing.
Yeah. So turning our limited space into a high-density living arena. That's the way I see it.
100%. And it's also profitable. It's a lot more profitable that way.
Yeah. So the profits come from the fact that people are no longer given a choice over the land size, but rather here is what we have, choose from that.
Love it. Love it.
I think I'm loving it. Okay, so yeah, so when they say, oh, you know, the developers saying, I've got a friend who's the developer, and he goes, look, it doesn't matter what we build, people will buy it. He goes, you can build on a postage stamp and have the back door open and clunk into the fence and prevent you from going outside, and they'll still buy it.
Yeah.
And go, is that what we're staring at now? Yeah, that's what we're doing. Because we'll fit another block in a city block by making them smaller. And we reduce the roads down to be a single lane where you can't pass each other anymore. There's no parking.
These roads, we just crawl spaces.
Yeah, well, eventually we won't have roads anyway, right? We'll just fly around in hover cars or something and go straight up. But even if we did that, the roads would just be there as cycleways or something. I don't know, people would be cycling anymore, to be honest. So for me, I wonder just how much we can take. It's the same conversation, Mickey, I had the other day with a friend. And I said, look, I've had 4 of the vaccines. I've had the original 2 and then a booster, and I've had another one, the bivalent one. So Pfizer, Moderna. And he goes, oh, I've had 3. I think that's enough for me. I'm not going to have any more. And he goes, so it only took 3 for you to dip out. I said the greater question is, if you ask your friends who have had it or not had it, doesn't matter, how many until you say no is it going to be? Now, I'm not asking that question to the audience because you can determine that for yourselves. And I've taken them all the vaccines. This is one of those things, Becky. It's relating that to our lack of choice with our land and housing availability, where it's limited, so it's limited, okay, limited edition makes the price go up. What we have is access to this limited time only ability to buy now. If you buy now, see, I'm using all the right words, then you'll be able to own this for yourself. You'll be able to own that block of land that's only 600 square meters or less, 500 square meters.
The funny thing is this, Dave, you live in Narara, right? Which is a fair way out of Sydney.
I got 6,600 square meters.
Yeah, but it's quite nice there, right?
Yeah, it is.
I thought it was. I think it's nice there. Anyway, now I drive out of Sydney, on a regular basis, and go to for holidays and such with my family, and I drive out, and as soon as you drive a little bit out of Sydney, which only takes about an hour or so, all of a sudden you have all this land, oodles, and
there's tons of it.
Of land, and yes, it is not in Sydney. It is away from the CBD and all that. Doesn't really matter anymore. But there's oodles of land, and the artificial scarcity that exists in our minds only exists because we let it exist. What I mean by that is, okay, so you're living in a certain place, and you like coffee shops there, but maybe you could move somewhere else. I mean, friends of ours, Dave, as you know, have uprooted themselves and bought farms in the outback and things like that. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but I do believe that we're caught in a mind cage of possibilities where we can't entertain certain possibilities. Forget choice. We don't even understand that there could be another choice for me. I don't have to live here. I don't have to pay $2 million for a house. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize it doesn't come up as an option for them in their head, which is quite astounding, really, if you think about it, right? And yet, I mean, you go out into the world, and there's a lot of land here, guys. There's a lot of land.
Yeah. There is. Like I said, I know that developer, and he's bought a lot of that land and will sit on it until the price is sufficient to subdivide, or it's friendly to a zone for maybe either industrial, light industrial, or commercial, because with those you can construct a building and sell it for a lot more. You can separate parcels of domestic land. And look, that's what people are doing. But I know, Mackie, that certainly around here there's a lot of land, and it's not Sydney, and it's cheaper. And for those people who don't know, Sydney has I think it's one of the highest per average house prices on the planet.
Oh yeah.
It's a limited space. There's a lot of people wanting to move in, and so it affects availability, affects price. Which Mackie, I have to say, our government has, just as a segue, has decided on agreeing with an energy cap price like they do in England. In England, your electricity provider, for instance, can charge you anywhere up to a certain amount per annum, which is really interesting. Even if you use or you consume more, that's the most they can ever charge you. And look, I was talking with a friend of mine this week, and I figured that if you're the energy provider, you'll pick a number that's just higher than the average. So most of your income will continue to come in uncapped, and only the small percentage of those above that will end up having a cap. So you stand to lose less overall. Yeah. And we're staring next year in 2023 as having at least another 30% price rise on domestic energy for the home. So all of those people who bought Teslas are going to be struggling next year to charge them up, because there won't be
Tesla drivers.
Just for instance, they won't be able to charge their vehicles up cost effectively. And I think that's going to be such a shame for this government's push to affect 0.2 of all of the emissions that are produced in the country by domestic travel. Wow.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
What a misdirected gain that is. I can't help knock it, because it's complete rubbish.
Because we put the cart before the ox. What do I mean by that? Look, do we need to be more energy efficient? Yes, we do. Do we pay too much for energy? Yes, we do. Are people profiteering? Yes, they are. So we need to start at the end where it makes sense, which is, let's create energy efficient or new energy sources. Let's create wind farms and water farms and tides and solar and whatever. Let's build the infrastructure. Let's invest money in room temperature fusion. Let's do all of those things. Let's have hydrogen-powered engines. Okay, so these are all possibilities, but do that first.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing now is we're throwing these electric cars out there. It's whoosh, whoosh. Where do we all think this electricity comes from? No, from the battery, Mackie. Don't be an idiot. Right. So batteries don't make electricity, everybody. I'm sure you've done a little bit of science in school.
That's
Maybe
right.
you've accidentally read a paper. I don't know.
Accidentally.
But let me assure you, batteries don't make electricity. They can store it quite well these days, even better than before.
Mm-hmm.
But this electricity needs to be generated. Now, the electricity that's being generated is not clean, meaning it comes from coal and gas powered power station. In most parts of the world, including Australia.
Can I sum that up in one phrase? We've outsourced the emissions for your vehicle. We've outsourced them to another place. Whoever makes the power. It's not where you are.
Yeah.
It's not where you're driving.
So does your car have less emissions? Actually, no.
No.
Not at all. It appears that way because it doesn't itself, the actual vehicle, produce any toxins or such, or greenhouse gases or whatever. It outsources it. It pushes it up the line, or down the line, as it were, to the actual electricity producer. And never mind how much of a carbon footprint it actually is to produce an electric car.
Which is about half the car's age.
And
of
the
about
battery.
5 years. Yeah, just to recover it. Yeah.
And then you have to somehow meaningfully get rid of the battery as well. You can't just put it into landfill. That's not a good idea.
It takes 500,000 tons of materials to make one car.
Yeah, that's a lot of materials. That's more than 5 tons.
You've got to think about the shipping of that using all of the fuels and the emissions.
Yeah, you like my
The
math?
digging up shipping, and there's even people's lives with
completely.
the rare metals that are required.
There's that.
Mhm.
So that's what I mean. The ox before the cart, because we should have started with clean energy in the first place, and then it is meaningful. It really is. It is meaningful to have these electric vehicles in the road.
It's really easy. It's really easy to cut over.
Yeah.
Once you got this clean energy running. Did you know, Mackie, there was a scientist that gave a speech this week in Parliament and said, well, you know, like it would be really good to have nuclear power. As an advocate, I would say that, but you don't have the people, the population to consume the power it's going to make.
Oh,
it's like,
that's what he said.
Well, yeah, that's what he said.
Oh, interesting. Well, it's probably true too.
Yeah, completely. So what he basically is saying, no one would put in to invest in the construction of one of those plants, given that we've only got, 30 million or 25 million? There's not enough, and they're too sparse. So you'd have to have one in each state. And what, he's going to build a small one? The efficiencies of scale start to run out on you, right? And become hideously expensive. And then the company who made it's going to need it at least running 25 years to make their money back, right?
Well, there's. I mean, see, in fact, I was wrong. We shouldn't have started with clean energy. We need to start with a whole new economic paradigm. We need an economic system that actually works and doesn't encourage us to destroy ourselves, which this one actually does. This one is like, well, you're still here?
We're fighting over resources.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And
that's not in our favour.
So.
That's right.
No. Absolutely not.
They say that if you covered Australian solar panels, beside the climate changing as a result, with all the absorption of heat off the panels rather than the soil, which is a different colour. And if you wanted to know about the black box emissions theory, go ahead and research it. But this, we'd be able to power not only Australia but some other countries that are close to us, just in solar. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But I know you wouldn't do it because there's an ecological problem as well. All the life that requires the sunlight. It's kind of like when Mr. Burns decided to put the shade over the area and black it out so he could have his nuclear power station run all the time.
That was fantastic.
And earn more money. That's right. Well, look, it follows the sun.
What? But look, and but in many ways, even though it's satirical, that's exactly where we are, because a lot of the concerns that are making money from the traditional power sources, as it were, have bought up all the patents, and they're holding them.
They sure are. This is the end of the first hour of David Mackey's Shiny Slate Out. Coming back from the break, we'll be talking about religiosity. Part 2.